Hello and welcome to Drive Mode. Today we have with us Mr. Rajesh Kutty, the lead designer at Bentley Motors. Hello Rajesh, it's an honor to have you with us.
Hello, Asif. Thank you for having me in your program.
This interview is actually very special to us as you two belong to our home state of Kerala.
Yeah, it's special to me as well because it's nice when people you belong to at least remember you. So I feel honored that way. Thank you very much for having me for this interview.
So you've been working out since quite long. What are your memories about Kerala?
So the thing is, obviously, I've lived most of my childhood in Goa.
Mm-hmm.
The memories I have of Kerala are during whatever I have during school breaks.
Okay.
The natural environment, train journeys, architecture. I remember I used to be at home and in my grandmother's place, and I would be sitting down there and just taking different perspectives, sketches of the house itself. Just to attract in that whole natural setting.
Yeah, I can understand that because
these are things you can't. Sorry.
I can understand that very well. My dad is also an architect.
Yeah. So there you go. So it was enjoyable. And this is, when I was 10, 12 years old. So it was not like I was just sitting and drawing cars or anything. I just enjoyed just drawing buildings. In fact, I used to draw a lot of buildings in that sense.
Okay.
And of course, the culture and way of life, the food and everything. These are my memories of Kerala.
Mm-hmm. And do you visit Kerala often?
Which is why, there has not been a break ever that I've not seen Kerala. So I come, I come once a year.
Yeah.
And then, and I prefer it there. So even if I have to go somewhere else in India because for some reason, I don't feel like I'm home. Even if I've gone, let's say Ahmedabad or Bangalore, I don't feel I've visited home unless I've been to Kerala. Okay. So that's, that you get. Otherwise, if I call my mother back and say, I don't feel like I've visited home if I have not been to Kerala, let's say. So this year, I've obviously not been, thanks to COVID, I've not visited. So this might be the first year, but you still got 4 months.
The year is not over yet, hopefully.
Yeah, we never know.
So you've been designing Bentley cars for over a decade now. And you have not limited yourselves to cars. I've seen your design concepts on aeroplane interiors, train interiors. You've done motorcycles to liquor bottles to music consoles and whatnot. That's a huge, wide range, actually. Could you give us a sneak? Yeah. Could you give us a sneak peek on your academic and career journey?
I'll try and make it very short. So as a child, my first inspiration was, this is very important for me, and that's why I say it more than anything else, because it was sown to be a car designer.
Mm-hmm.
I think when I was 4 or 5 years old, and my father used to work in Tata Motors, so he was posted in Colombo. And at such a time, the company car was a Mercedes 180.
Yes.
And I remember the sky blue color with the burgundy kind of interior that it had, and me dropping, and with the what do you call it, the ivory colored steering wheel. It's been in my memory. That I must have been, like I said, for 4 years, if that. And that stuck into my head. And for me, it was Mercedes-Benz and car, that kind of a relation. I thought, oh, this is what I know. I had to do something with regard to this. And of course, every kid has that passion for cars, but then this is all I always thought of. Obviously, after I finished my schooling, i.e. 12th standard, my idea was to get into, it was a time when there was a boom, IT boom, but I decided that I still wanted to do something related to cars.
Okay.
I had no idea of car design, to be honest. So I didn't know this thing happens. And mind you, my age is already, how much is it? 20, 21, and and I had no idea. So I got into, 17, that's it, 17, sorry, got into an engineering college, mechanical engineering. And in the final year, there was again a poster. I'm just talking of key points that, ignite.
Okay.
There was a poster from the IDC Bombay, which is a design school where they have a common entrance exam for design. But the poster was beautiful. It just had some animated picture, some cartoon figures, and it was quite different from the normal poster you would find on the job board, which you're looking at in your final year. This is what I want to do. This sounds really good. I was fortunate that I secured 2 jobs. One included Tata Motors. So I was at home, but my father was posted in Bombay. So that's where home was. So I went there, and while there, I dropped in to see to IDC just to see how this course is, what this is about. Then realized what it was, and there was a yacht designer or somebody I met, and I thought this is it. This is a beautiful path. This is slightly offbeat, which is what I want, because what I didn't realize was that is what I was looking for, was not being bound in a box, which we were used to in our education system as such. So I thought, this is cool. This is exactly what I wanted, that whole being out of the box kind of feeling and drawing. So, of course, I was also had written that exam, and I saw that thing. So I secured the marks for it, but I never got the job. I think the guy who was interviewing me said that I might be better off with the Tata Motors job I have as an engineer, and I should continue and not look into design. I didn't think much of it. But while at Tata in Pune, I was with the cream de la cream. So all these, there were people who wanted to be designers, everything. That's when they told me there's NID. And I said, that is good. So I wrote the entrance for that, got through it, and went to visit NID for the interview. And I fell in love with the place straight away, because this was another altogether completely different feeling. And I'll be honest, I've studied at NID, I've been to Coventry, I've been to IED Turin. So 3 different schools. I've also visited the London. But for me, National Institute of Design at Paldi, Ahmedabad, that whole atmosphere, for me, it was parallel to nothing. That was, for me, the best school. And I loved it. I loved the experience there. But as soon as I got there, I straight away asked the rector, MGD Nair, I asked him, how do I do car design? I want to do car design. I don't want to do product design. And it is crazy, because when I pulled out of Tata Motors, my father as well was surprised. He said, you were a vehicle testing engineer. Why would you, this is what you always like doing, driving cars and everything and testing it. And so he was a bit shocked that I was going. He didn't say anything, but encouraged me. And I quit that good job and went ahead to do this. Initially, there was a mind block, and I thought, what are they asking me to do? Paper cubes and everything else. This is not what I want to do. So that just goes to show how constricted I was with the system, that I thought a low job to even cut paper and stick it together, form cubes. And I just couldn't understand. And what NID did was it broke the mold and made you kind of unlearn what you had learned all along. That's how you come out of the box, literally.
Yes.
And so that worked out well for me. Except I didn't know what I was doing. So I just had my own fun time, I'd say. And it was product design.
Yeah.
Fortunately for me, we have the 6 months program that we do. And in that 6 months program, we work in the industry. It's called a diploma project, where you do kind of possibly a real life scenario.
Okay.
And it was from tractors and farm equipment, TAFE in Chennai, to design a tractor. And I said, wow, it's got 4 wheels, that should do. So that's the closest you can get as a product designer to a car. So jumped at the offer. That went well. And the TAFE hired me straight off, and they said, okay, you could lead the design for a project that they were doing.
Okay.
A design setup. So I set up a design studio with them, and to do clay modeling. They still didn't have clay modelers and other things. So I went to England, sent by TAFE, and I was kind of liaisoning between the engineers and the design team. And in that aspect, that was my first way that I got to do clay modeling and tape drawings and these kind of things. And while I was at Coventry, I obviously came across Coventry University, and I thought, okay, it seems like these are you've got a student from Coventry University in every design studio in the world, literally, car design. So I thought, this is where I need to come then. So, but then I went back and continued to, because I wanted to finish this tractor. But I got slow. I wasn't going anywhere as such. I thought maybe, I'm getting older, and I was already 25 by this time. Most people have already decided 6, 7 years back. So they already had the heads up, let's say. So I went straight back to Coventry, got an admission there, and that was a 1-year course. But that 1 year was, again, a very important 1 year, because the teaching came from the people who came from various aspects. So we had people from all over the place. There was a guy who was 41 years old, who had already done 16 Toyota models, who was my classmate. The guy who did the first Toyota RAV4 was Yasu Hasuda. And while he was with us, the GS4 400, 430 was designed by him, and it was being unveiled in Detroit. So while he was studying with us, he said, I got to go to America, because he had done the exterior and interior of that car. So you learn a lot from people like that. And then there was a Korean guy, and then there was an American guy, people from all over. So you kind of learn from everybody. Mm-hmm. I think that was one time when I was completely dedicated to what I was doing. Mm-hmm. Learned as much as I could in 1 year. So possibly that 1 year was, in terms of learning per day, I think was a lot. And following that, my idea was always to come back to India. And I had this thing where there was a shop car shop in Coimbatore, which designed cars for, we're doing some rally cars for Tata Motors and everything. So I was going to tie up with this person and do it, but it didn't work out. Both of us were honest with each other, so that didn't work out. Mm-hmm. So cutting a very long story short, for the next 7 months, I was trying to knock doors in India. It never worked. Okay. I wasn't, keen in being employed at Tata Motors or being employed in Mahindra or anything. I just wanted to be, have my own consultancy. Okay. The same deal that I'm having at the moment. So I didn't want to be under an umbrella. So I wanted to kind of, let's say, freelance, because that gave me the freedom to do other things. Yeah. And that building cars. So, and therefore I saw nothing of that sort happening. So I moved to Italy, and where the car design happens. But my experience there meant, I thought, maybe I was unlucky or what, but the professionalism wasn't so great. So I decided maybe I need to go to England. So I moved to England. Okay. I straight away worked with this guy with whom we designed these train interiors, aeroplane interiors, small products. Mm-hmm. We even did Escort, which he wanted to expand into car design. So we even did that. Okay. And he's now my model making arm, Kovaci Group. So we are now good friends. But the idea was to expand into car design. But we got to remember that after the 90s or late 90s, all the little car design shops just disappeared because the big OEMs had everything in-house. Mm-hmm. So we were kind of late in the game by a decade, let's say. But what it did was, doing the Ford Escort, when Top Gear magazine covered it, and it kind of caught the eye of some of my friends in Bentley. Okay. Which is good. And, then that was 2007 or something. And then Bentley all the way since then. But of course, I formed my own company through which I contracted myself to Bentley, the same deal I always wanted, rather than working under them. So which meant I had the freedom to do product design, motorcycles, nothing that kind of conflicted with Bentley's interests. So it's been ever, since then it's been there. And of course, after the COVID situation, with everything going quite tight, I'm now looking more into my freelance clients, let's say. So that's where we are.
So you're living your dream.
I'm enjoying it. Yeah, for sure.
So how do you manage work during this pandemic time? As we all know, because designing is a teamwork, right?
Yeah, that's true. It is. But most work is done digitally now, whether it's sketching, modeling, engineering, strategy. And so therefore, work can be done virtually. Okay. With Teams, just like how you and I are having this interview. Mm-hmm. That time spent online is kind of useful in some ways, because work seems to be getting done faster than you having hindrances. Because when you have a hindrance, what I mean by that is, if you're working sometimes, especially if you're involved in a process of, solving a problem.
Okay.
And there might be a person who will just knock, an engineer or somebody knocking, or a marketing person knocking it on your desk saying, and that is equally important as well. But the thing is, it kind of breaks your monotony, your flow which you're getting.
No, exactly.
And therefore you get distracted.
Mm-hmm.
And so what you can do in 2 or 3 hours might take a whole day at the physical studio.
Okay.
Because you've allotted yourself this time and you're doing that. I mean, of course, all this comes at the cost of social elements, but then if you enjoy doing your work, then obviously that's what it is. So that's a flip side. So the designer kind of saves himself from this barrage of meetings that he goes to. And some of them are sometimes unnecessary as well.
Yes.
But you just need to know the main point. So your point must be 2 minutes in that meeting, but you're there for a whole half an hour, which. So we're shaving off that time.
Okay.
Missed is clay modeling, which I personally enjoy, physical clay modeling. A lot of car companies are going into almost a virtual background. I don't know. I personally am a big fan of clay modeling.
Yes.
In the sense, I need to see the physical model, because even virtual reality glasses give a skewed perspective and you can't do the real feel. And that's the other thing is we come to is color and trim. Because again, that's a feel. What you see on a video, you can't feel, or you can't see the real thing. It's like appreciate a show car, which you show your viewers.
Yeah.
Flesh and blood than it is on TV.
Yeah.
That will be missed. So far, fortunately, we've not come to that kind of an issue yet.
Okay.
But with the lockdown easing off, that should all be possible anyway.
So the virtual reality has come in post-COVID. Before it was clay models only, right?
Oh, no. Virtual reality has been there for a few years now. I forgot when, but it's been there for quite a few years.
Okay.
Because you could do a quick sketch model sometimes, and to understand your proportions, you sit into wear the glasses, and then you can see how it looks in reality than how it looks in paper.
And how do you arrive at a design brief?
So I would try to understand where the client is coming from and where to go. So while respecting the spirit of the client's company, and this would be, kind of translated, whatever I come up with would be translated to the brief, to the client's company. So for this, we would be communicating with the client, gather information, establish a dialogue with, just to understand the project's objectives, the expectations, characteristics, the functional requirements, what's the project timeline. And, whoever's the project manager, maybe you have a lot of dialogue with him for this. And, or sometimes it might be the case that the owner is the guy you're dealing with directly anyway. And now visual people. So we would interpret the whole thing.
Okay.
In terms of words and everything, but as much as we can through visuals, whether board or influence boards, so that product can be have kind of an influence, so you know what you're talking about because you haven't designed the product yet. But this is the direction we could go. The lifestyle characteristics. So all this would sum up, and then that kind of opens up even the and it's important as well. It opens up the eyes of the client, and he says, and then he'll suddenly be involved in the process and becomes interested. And then you arrive at the brief together with him, because after all, he's putting the money in it.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Design brief to multiple sketches to concept to clay modeling. What are the challenges in ensuring the ergonomics of a car?
So for this, I would say, like I just mentioned to you. So most, the initial sketches are pure. Okay, so whenever you do a design process, it would start with all your initial sketches, and that's the, let's say, textbook style of doing things. Okay. So you have a drawing, and then from there you start off. So like I said, the initial sketches will purely get a theme or a design intent, and this is where you have most freedom, creating a beautiful object. So I tend to resolve it in 3D pretty early. So I've kind of worked differently in that sense from most people.
Okay.
where already sketch modeling it in 3D, and then do drawings along with it. So I'm always at the right proportion. Like I just mentioned, I jump into a VR glasses, have a look at my sketch model. Okay, these proportions are good. I can see there's so much room for my armrest or whatever else. And I can go back to the drawing board and then obviously create visuals from the underlays I use for this, from this. And you got to remember there's also hard points you got to respect, because the seat might be a carryover from somewhere else, and you got to accept the reality, because after all, every company is trying to save costs and they're trying to share platforms and things like that.
Yes.
So in some ways, it's very useful, I would say, to have the ergonomics from the outset, because believe it or not, it sometimes helps your proportions to some extent, I would say. But that's where you don't agree to it, then you kind of take an artistic license and sacrifice the demands of the hard point, depending on how important it is, and having a dialogue with the engineer or marketing person as to what it is. And it's normal to have this kind of a tussle with other departments. It's inevitable. Okay. And this is because our aim is not just functional, but aesthetic. Sometimes it might be as important, if not more. So that's how we have to work. So we kind of respect it right from the. So I've never had that problem, like I said, because to answer your question in short, is I do both parallelly straight away. Yeah. So
could you explain the 3/4 perspective and its importance?
So this is a bit kind of, I don't know, I'm not really aware of 3/4 perspective, but I think I can understand what it means.
Okay.
As in, because ideally what I think it interprets is showing kind of the best way that you want to show a design. So if you have a top view means the whole interior. So when presenting a two-dimensional view, it illustrates a design to the client. You need a view that covers most aspect of the design to explain the concept. This may be done with more than one view, because one view might hide some things. So you might need another view. So you might have 3 or 4 sides to it. And it's funny because you'll show one view and then you show another view and they would say, oh, I didn't get that. Okay, so that's what it is. And of course, you always have a 3D to support it, virtually and everything else. But then everybody is not going to have the time to keep going wearing virtual glasses and having a look. Also, if you want to do a reference, you need 2D renderings. And kind of the 2D renderings, the two-dimensional renderings, they portray the design best. Its essence, its intent. It's like a convenient reference point, let's say, because a picture speaks many words. So you have, and so that's the importance of it. So every time you go to the engineer, you say, look, this is the intent. Look where you're taking me. Or stay pure to that theme.
Okay. Okay. And what is the role of software in car designing nowadays?
Okay, so that's primary. I mean, today, it's you could probably not even do it. You'd be ages behind. Things go so fast. So software is primary, including having these conferences. If it wasn't there, you couldn't have. Yeah. And whether it's from a first sketch. Now I sketch in an iPad. I used to sketch in a Cintiq, which is a monitor on which you can sketch. But then now I sketch on an iPad. So as soon as I'm done with it, I'm able to be anywhere else. Sometimes, even in this COVID times, what I found very useful is I might have to go somewhere else and with a family, and they'll do, and I could go to a coffee shop quickly to the side and quickly get this done and sent over to the client. And it's so easy. And then he's already having his dialogues. So this is okay. This is net connectivity. But in general, even when my modelers making the physical tryout models, you've got to see if it works right. And even if you can't afford to do a whole 3D printing, you can take a small part. So you can quickly SLS, stereolithograph stuff of your design and see how it looks visually, capture it. So you have a physical sample, and this can be done. And even clay modeling. Sometimes, the clay modeler will have this styrofoam or thermocol, as we call it in India, and you have clay put on it. Cut will be based on the proportions that designer's done, and then you can start tweaking it because it suddenly looks different from the computer to this. So, and then again, you will scan that it goes back to the computer, and then you clean up the surfaces again. So it's primary, it is required.
It is very important.
Very, very important. Yeah.
What are the roles?
And also, it's a constant reference you need with the engineers. Engineers will come up with their hard points. They'll say, oh, you know what, the switch gear is coming here, and you need to know where it is in 3D space.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're covering the clay or when you're covering a surface, it covers those points. So for the engineers, it's useful as well, and he can see what it is doing. He can do his testing based on your on the material you supply him in 2D, in 3D.
So there is better communications for you guys.
Yeah, it's quicker. So like everything else, it just speeds the process many times over.
Okay. And what are the roles a designer has to take while the technical team converts the design into components? Is this the most challenging aspect of car design?
So the role of a designer when the car is closer to a production gateway is to maintain the originality of the design intent.
Okay.
And so the essence of the original sketch is not lost in the rush to the finishing line.
Mm-hmm.
It would mean a lot of hours in meetings sometimes for even the smallest thing. Okay. Because the engineer from his point wants to meet the deadlines, and you from your point want to, where you're trying to say, no, this is not what I intended. So, but of course the sanity comes when you do such a thing. Sometimes you lose your head because you think, why wasn't this communicated before? It's inevitable. This happens.
And more people start working, it happens.
Yeah, and but then you get a sanity because you tend to be working on many other projects. You might be in the beginning stage of some other project where you're a free thinker. So while you're doing these meetings, you might be still doodling in one corner, thinking, okay, I got an idea for what this is. So that's your way of taking your head off. So, but it's an important process, obviously, because at the end of the day, that's what we get paid for, right? So because we're designing several designs, each at it kind of helps because your mind is not in the only one thing. Yeah. Otherwise, just do some drawings, do some paintings, if there's nothing like that.
What are your ongoing and upcoming projects? Can you explain?
So last year was, I think, kind of my highlight in some ways, just before COVID, where I had finished the Bentley Flying Spur.
Okay.
And then the Bentley EXP 100 GT, which is their concept car. It was mostly kind of a physical embodiment of what Bentley wanted to do in future. So on the one hand was a production car, which is the bread and butter. Mm-hmm. And the other concept, in the sense, it's trying to tell where it wants to go. So not only was it important for the clients to understand, but it was also kind of a roadmap for the various departments as to what we should aim for, say, the 2035.
Mm-hmm.
So it was very important because you're kind of generating a kind of a strategy in some ways through a physical car, which still is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
That's one production car, one concept car. So the moment I'd done that, it was most me thinking, okay, now I want to, look at other avenues. What else can I look at? Maybe put more energy into other things because after all, I've been doing Bentleys for a while. So I looked at motorcycles. I've been in conversation with people from BMW and things like that. And then product design work. And, I've got to take advantage of this profession, which is you can play with all these different streams.
Yeah.
And, I've been doing things from sneakers, a couple of other interesting product design jobs, let's say, which for reasons I can't disclose. Okay. And car design parallelly.
Yeah. So, and lastly, do you have any message to car design aspirants or as such design aspirants, because you have not restricted yourself to cars?
Yeah, so it's a difficult one because, as you can imagine, it's a fun profession without a shadow of doubt. Mm-hmm. Enjoy it as much, maybe more than what I used to when I started it. It gives me my sanity in that sense. one which still keeps that childlike in me intact. And being a niche profession, it makes it that much special, because now many people bump into car designers, let's say. So,
it's also not that big, actually, the opportunity.
Yeah, so that's where I'm going to kind of come to now. Let the guys know that it's not an easy walkthrough, and without sounding like a cliche, I mean when I say you have to be passionate. The reason I say that is alone might not be enough, because you have to have that perseverance. Almost at the point that every time you're lifting that pencil to sketch, it should wipe out the anxiety in your head. If it can do that, then that's it. You're not thinking anything else, and you're doing that, then that's great. And all the time you're telling yourself, this is not good enough. And it's good to take compliments, obviously. We are human beings.
Yeah.
But then this is not good enough, and keep going. And now I've got to be, in a brutal way, tell you, because you need to have the spirit to drive that perseverance to design cars. There are so many places up for grabs. A studio has got 10, 20 designers. I don't know how it is with Honda and other big companies, whether they have hundreds or what, but it's very limited. And they're young guys going up, and you're still designing. Some people, me included, might not necessarily enjoy going up the managerial route. Maybe not, or maybe I do if I can parallelly do the get my hands dirty, for lack of better words. So I still like the sketching and everything else. So doing both is obviously fun, which is the stage I'm at, where I can do the strategy and at the same time draw. So to get to that stage, it's only this perseverance that'll get you there. And you got to be very careful with the profession you choose, because it's one thing to like cars and another thing to actually design and find yourself a job. I know, I mean, not to put anybody off, I know some very talented guys, perhaps more than I am, and who probably haven't found a job in the right place. And I think that shortcoming was because they lacked the perseverance.
Okay.
And so that's where it came. Because for me, it was, I kept enjoying it and kept doing it and didn't give up on it. But then, if you establish yourself as one through constant practice, be it sketching, visualizing in 3-dimension, study aspects of design, have a look at it, and any day-to-day objects, study it and enjoy it, in that sense. And it's difficult for me to say, because it's such an intangible thing. It's not a question of, how many marks do you can't quantify it. That's what is difficult. But be very sure that you want to do it, because there's only so many places up for grabs, unfortunately. So yeah, so that's where it is.
I think apart from the car design part, the other design parts maybe.
Oh yeah, that should be good. Yeah, there's so much required in user interface and product design. That's in abundance. Yeah, so that shouldn't let anybody down.
Rajesh, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Happy Onam to you and your family. Do you have any message for Onam for the Keralites watching our show?
So, drive mode എല്ലാ ഫോളോവേഴ്സിനും പിന്നെ ബാക്കി ആരെങ്കിലും ഈ പ്രോഗ്രാം കാണാൻ വെച്ചാൽ അവർക്കെല്ലാം എൻ്റെ ഹൃദയം നിറഞ്ഞ ഓണം ആശംസകൾ. അതേ പറയാനുള്ളൂ. നിങ്ങളുടെ എന്താ ആഗ്രഹങ്ങളും നിങ്ങളുടെ മോട്ടോർ എക്സ്പീരിയൻസസും എല്ലാം ഈ വർഷം നന്നായി പോട്ടെ. ഈ ഉള്ളതും എത്രത്തോളം വേഗം നമുക്ക് ഈ സിറ്റുവേഷന് പുറത്തു വരാൻ പറ്റുമോ അത്രത്തോളം നല്ലതാണ്. പക്ഷെ ഓണത്തിന് എൻജോയ് ഓണം ആശംസകൾ.
Malayalis are also very proud of you, Rajesh.
Thank you very much. Thank you
so much for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you.